just got my little dog for the first time in my life. I was scared of dogs for about 50 years. And something had just altered in my life. Something had just changed in my life. And I had allowed a dog to walk in my life. Before Alka left, she said, I have 20, I don't even know how many, 27 or 24 dogs in my house. And I was like, what? Yeah, मेरे पास इतने dogs हैं. I have so many dogs. You know, when you have a phobia of something, even one means a lot. And here 27, and the first thing that came to my mind was my head went like this, and I said, oh my God, how does she do it? Yeah. कहाँ है इसके पैर? Where are her feet? I mean, I must really look at this girl. Then COVID happened and everything slowed down and we couldn't meet each other. But you know, life has its funny ways. We've been meeting over the Zoom. She's been studying from me, and I've been reading a lot that she's been writing on the Facebook. And I find that very
You.
interesting. So I realized that we had a precious gem in the group who silently was sitting down there with a lot of knowledge. And my job is to put you guys on this platform so that others can benefit from your knowledge. Don't keep anything with you, it's not yours. हकी नहीं है तुमको, जो है वो बांटने के लिए मिला है. और इस लाइफ में, for people who don't understand Hindi, all I said, if you have something, you have no right to keep it with you because you were given that special talent so that you could share it with people. And so I'm sharing with you this beautiful person, special talent, Alka. So, Alka, you will
Thank you.
tell us what you're going to be talking about, and you're going to go ahead and do what you do the best. But at the end, we have the best story at the end. We have a song from my dear friend, which we'll be hearing right at the end. So, Alka, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anu. It was such a pleasure to hear about me from you. And I remember coming to Mumbai and meeting you because Carl Dawson, I wanted to learn EFT, and Carl Dawson's Institute said the best person since you're in India is to get in touch with Anu Mehta. So, and I was desperately searching for you. I found you and I could connect with you. And I learned my EFT with you, and I was very lucky that I could come back and teach so many people EFT, and it was so beneficial. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for teaching me such a wonderful modality, and also learning currently doing color therapy with you, which again is such a big, it's really shaken me up because I used to think color is like colors. Okay, so I'd heard of color therapy, but the way you've been teaching us and telling us about colors and how to identify personalities, so many nuances of your personality, not only personality, nuances of your personality. And thank you. I mean, it's been such a revelation, and I've been, studying about it and going over your notes, and hopefully I should be able to teach it, inshallah, with time. And thank you for being such a wonderful presence in my life, Anu. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about rebirthing, a topic which is very, very dear to me. I came across rebirthing in Delhi when I learned a
Alka,
bit
could you
from
put the
MetaHealth
mic next to
Protocol.
your mouth? Because, yeah, it's kind of cracking. Let everybody here get a better
Okay.
of you. Thank you so much.
Is that is that better?
Yes, it is better.
Yeah, okay. So, rebirthing is something which is very, very dear to me. And I came across it when I attended one workshop in Delhi. It was a small workshop, but it kind of opened my eyes when I was doing this with Chitra. And from there, I realized that no, I need to go a bit more in detail. So I got in touch with Leonard Oz Institute, the founding father of rebirthing. So I went to US all the way to North Carolina, and there I got in touch with his wife, LD Orr. Leonard had just passed away. We were very unfortunate that I couldn't meet him. He just passed away 15 days earlier than my reaching the US. But I had the opportunity to learn from LV. Then I went to Bangkok for 40 days. And there I trained with Chandra Pollock. And she taught us dry rebirthing, water rebirthing. And I mean, it was for me, I would say it was my rebirth with learning how to do rebirthing. So, rebirthing, let me begin right from the beginning. It is the first breath that we take. what was our first breath like? So, this very first breath, is responsible for many, many, many physical and mental ailments that we suffer in our life today. This tells you, were you a cesarean baby, a forceps baby, or an induced birth, a breech baby, a baby who had the cord rung around his neck, or a baby who was slapped on his butt when he was born. So, this very first breath, when a child enters the world, the earthly world, the first breath he takes decides the trauma and the drama of your life. So, Leonard Orr, who was the founding father of rebirthing, he saw in a flashback when he was sitting in the bathing tub that he had one of the most difficult birth, and he learned to view that experience not from a standpoint of victimization, but as an opportunity to change the basic conditions of his life. So he said, through rebirthing, I remember coming into my mother's womb and how excited I was. And this excitement turned into pain because he realized that he was not wanted. And he had this umbilical cord around him. And it was like, when a baby has an umbilical cord, trust me, it is like a baby's way of committing suicide. He's got the rope around his neck and he's saying, I don't want to come into this world because this world holds a lot of trauma for me. And I don't want this trauma. And at birth, when he came close to dying, because he was, pulled out by his leg, and then he had, the forceps from again, which he was pulled out, and he remembers being suffocated, and the shame when he felt, when he was in the tub, he could literally experience his mother with her legs wide open. And he found that so shameful. As it is, he was being pulled out in such a terrible manner. And then he saw his mother with her legs open. And that was the first flashback he started having right from 1962 to 1965. And when he could not get out of the bathtub, so, he would say that when I'm lying in the bathtub, I'm having these flashbacks and I want to get out of the tub. And this is something which is stopping me. So something that is stopping you becomes the urgency barrier. If you can break this urgency barrier, up uthne lago and suddenly something pulls you down. Again, you want to get up, something pulls you down. So if you land up sitting through this urgency, a powerful realization comes out. This is followed by very, very powerful emotional releases. So it was a complete spiritual, mental, and physical ecstasy. And this was what he called rebirthing. So, with the transformation in the breathing mechanism, the mind body spirit relationship also gets transformed. Our breathing needs a certain rhythm where the inhalation and the exhalation merges. And this is called in rebirthing, we call it the connected breath. So when we are breathing, it's not we take a breath and we leave it. And we go in a cycle of 20 connected breaths. So we keep repeating this pattern of going on and on and on, and flashes start coming to us about our own. It could be past life, it could be, what it was like in your mother's womb. It could be like your childhood memories. It could be about inner child. So a whole lot of gamut of, flashbacks and experiences awaken in you. So our lives are formed by, molded by stuck energies. Please remember, it is very important. Stuck energies that limit our expression and our individuation. So the stuck energy bears tension, painful body symptoms, which eventually leads to diseases and death. So in rebirthing, there's a freeing of this breath, session by session. And when we free this breath, and we are freeing the breath, and we are breathing in the air, and we're breathing in the prana. So it's not you're breathing just the air, you're breathing the prana also. And this is the vital transformation. So when we breathe the prana, a healing comes in, and this relieves the moment of the first breath we take. So in this breathing mechanism, so we go from exhale oriented breath to the inhale oriented breath. So the exhale oriented breath is related to death, and the inhale oriented breath is related to life. So with this breathing, we are dispensing prana, flushing the circulatory, nervous, respiratory system, as well as the aura or the energy body. So, proper breathing cleanses your psychic dirt, your negative mental mass, your physical tensions, physical illness, emotional problems from your human consciousness. So, in rebirthing, we move from inhibited breathing mechanism, which is blocked, we breathe energy, which processes whatever is rising until it gets released and transformed. So only thing we do is to keep on breathing and keep on relaxing in this process. So all tensions, all toxicities, all sensations, all uncomfortable feelings begin to release. And with this, we keep on trusting the breath and we keep on surrendering. So we breathe and we trust and we surrender. We breathe and we trust and we surrender. So whatever comes up is ready to be released. And therefore, we don't have to be afraid. So we breathe into this fear and it begins to get transformed. So intense psychological sensations, emotional transformations happen in our very first sensation. And this is because the body releases memories, tensions, stresses, which is stored in our organism because of our inhibited breathing. People say and tell me after the first session, I'm more relaxed than I've ever been in many, many, many years. The client learns, like I said earlier, the 20 connected breaths just before the session. So we teach the 20 connected breaths before we go in for the rebirthing. So as a rebirther, we guide the client through our words and we breathe with them. So we say, okay, no, you're not doing the right way. Ah, ah, we're going with the client, So we kind of get into the rhythm of breathing. So sometimes during breathing, a tingling sensation comes up or we say the current waves run through a particular area of a body, which is called the tetany, and the memories of birth can appear, or of the prenatal times, or of childhood, or of memories of great awareness. Even opening of the consciousness takes place, illuminated ideas come up. And when we finally free up breath, a profound sense of well being, and often experiences in which the consciousness opens up. So, rebirthing is also called divine orgasm, cosmic relaxation, where you release your old subconscious beliefs and integrate more confidence, trust, pleasure into your body and your soul. Our society is a great one for repressing us. So, the society, the education, they kind of, and our past lives and our karmas, they impose so much on us from a very young age that we begin to repress our emotions and disconnect from our natural divinity. And we do this by holding a breath. When somebody screams, what's your reaction? When somebody comes into the room, you're scared. So, you tend to hold your breath. So, that breath that you're holding, that is stressful, that is tension, that is a flight fight mechanism, which is really, really ingrained into every cell of our body. That is what we start releasing when we do rebirthing. So, this over the years becomes a habit until we reach a point where our breathing becomes inhibited and the repressed emotion turns into blockages and tensions. So, by transforming a breath mechanism, we release and heal a big part and we enable the chi or the prana to flow freely in our physical, emotional, mental, and energetic body. So Leonard Orr, the founding father, talks of 9 big traumas or 9 biggies, he would say, which are responsible for inhibiting our breathing mechanism and stopping the air from flowing freely. So the first one he speaks of is the birth trauma and infancy memories. So he says, in the rebirthing sessions, we repair the physical, mental, and the emotional damage that has been caused at birth as a result for the first struggle of our breath. Even though the breath may naturally be a difficult moment, the birth, the main struggles are usually caused by the doctor's lack of sensitivity and the ignorance. How many times doctors are, they are so rushed for babies. So unko hoता है ये jaldi jaldi पैदा करें बच्चे and let them have babies quickly. So they don't let you go into a proper labor. Many a times they'll tell you, the baby's getting stressed, ma'am. Why don't you go in for a cesarean baby? And that's the whole problem. And this is the reason why that people subventilate when they breathe. The breathing mechanism is inhibited because it is repressing the fear. During our birth, when we take our first breath, we crystallize this very experience in the world that we come and make conclusions about ourselves and the world. For example, the baby concludes with his first breath, the world is not a safe place. And trust me, we all carry this thing. Any problems we come across, whether it's our relations, our friends, our bosses, any people, we come across, the first thing which strikes our mind is the world is not a safe place. This experience is one of pain, and parents, especially the mothers, They usually give their power away to the unconscious doctors instead of getting a good preparation for the birth where you deeply connect with your baby and you flow with your own intuition. So, experience shows that if a mother has not overcome her own birth traumas, she will tend to repeat similar complications when she gives birth. And similarly, if the father has not overcome his own birth traumas, it's very difficult for him to offer love and support. A birth is a co creation between a baby and his parents, and it's so important to provide a gentle, natural birth so that all can heal and start to have loving and respectful relationships. The arrival of the baby should be amidst love, security, respect, and not as a routine act in the hospital. One can see how much pain and anger is expressed by the way babies and children who've had a very violent and non-respected births when they cry. So the cord is still beating when it's cut off, and that's the baby's Wi-Fi to the universe. And the quick cutting makes the baby feel that its life source has been severed and that he's going to die. So this very first breath has a sense of urgency. It has a sense of scarcity, a sense of pain. And if you see a lotus birth, the umbilical cord is left for 3 to 5 days. Yeah, the umbilical cord until it falls off itself. So each type of whether it's a cesarean, it's a forceps or an induced, leaves a cellular memory which has a huge impact on the person. So the way we were born is also the first success in our life. Our subconscious learned all the steps we went through as the way to succeed. So we usually repeat the pattern in many areas of our life, especially when we do something new. The second biggie that Leonard Orr talks of is the parental disapproval syndrome. Children are naturally in contact with their own divinity, but they learn by imitation and mirroring the unconscious resolved issues of their parents and people who surround them. Loving and conscious parents protect their children, their natural divinity, guide them, love them, nurture them, thereby creating and building a child's self esteem. Disapproval and negative patterns are some of the things that makes a child very, very unsure of himself, makes him believe, that not to trust his own intuitions, but to start paying attention to the external figures of authority, which could be parents, which could be teachers, or any caretakers. So this, kind of parental disapproval, the attitude of parents who do not give attention, who are always saying no to their children without explaining. You'll hear a lot of children when they're growing up, all they hear is no, no, don't do this. You're not supposed to do this. It's very rarely a child will hear, okay, baby, go ahead, do it. I'm there to support you. No, he doesn't hear this. All the time he's hearing, no, don't do it. Then we come to school trauma. The present education system, unfortunately, does not respect the stages of human development, and nor do they respect the differences and uniqueness of each child. All children are asked to do the same task, irrespective of the fact whether they fit into it or not. The present educational system is very, very rudimentary and does not favor emotional and spiritual development of the child. So, this is very, very traumatic of the child. And the teachers in the school, the children fear them. What do they fear? The disapproval, the punishment, or being ridiculed in front of the whole class. They want the teacher's love, and teachers should not do their teaching as a matter of duty or an obligation. They should satisfy the curiosity of the child with pleasure, with love, so that the child learns to trust himself. Another biggie that Leonard speaks about is senility, healing senility. Old age is probably the biggest challenge of human condition. And Leonard, he healed his own senility. So, as we get older, we experience pain in our bodies and we lose the basic ability to walk and talk. So, with rebirthing, it helps you to get them back, makes you rejuvenated, makes you happy than you've ever been in your life. So, when we are young, what happens is we're always repressing so much of our traumas, so much of our memories for so many years that we're not able to overcome these during childhood. So when we are not able to overcome, they are passed on. And as we get older, we tend to become more and more childlike. And the more these issues are addressed in rebirthing, senility problem goes away. Then we come to the subconscious death urge. Death urge is a collection of negative thoughts and habits we inherit from our family, our culture, our environment, which sabotages our lives, often despite of us. So we have to strengthen our life urge. When we have to strengthen our life urge, we have to spend time with ourselves, move away from negative people, move away from depressed people, because we tend to suck in their energy. And the more we suck in their energy, we tend to create a lot of negative thoughts, thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I can't do it, I'm no good, I am unsafe, I can't trust people. So these are the negative thoughts we tend to develop. Then he speaks about religious traumas. So true spirituality connects us to the source, with the divine nature, with our true self. It leads us to believe that the divine exists in us and not some kind of false dogmas and false conditions, where we are taught, Bhagwan se daro, fear God. We are never taught to love God. It is so important to love God. We are coming from Him, we belong to Him. He's the source, we are His children. But we're always taught, Bhagwan se dara karo, ye mat karo, not. And this is really, really, I feel it's a very inhibited and very negative kind of a way we are taught to trust God. Then another biggie is the repression of the feminine. The disconnection and the repression of a feminine energy, the intuitive self, leads us to repress our inner state, and the society has taught us to do so. Most people fear their most sensitive, softer, vulnerable self. They repress their feminine qualities like intuition, sensitivity, vulnerability, listening to people, trusting others, trusting yourself, because they are fearful of being hurt. We are taught always it's the survival of the fittest. And I always say it's survival of the shittiest, and we live in a world which is very, very survival oriented, which is very negative, very dangerous. However, when we get to know our vulnerable self, what we are scared of, like before me, Nivedita was talking and she was telling about her own. The vulnerable self came out when she got married. This part of it, she had never experienced the vulnerabilities. So we are so scared to open that vulnerable door because we feel, हम अपने अंदर का अगर दरवाजा खोलेंगे, the more we expose ourselves, the more we're going to get hurt. So, we learn to put layers of skin, layers of being feeling callous, not experiencing trust, not experiencing care, because this is nothing but a mechanism to protect ourselves. So, our society, whether it's the family, the business, the religion, or the people's psyche, gives importance to dominance of the strong over the weak. So we still live with the supremacy of men over women. And women, in their urge to compete with men, have lost their femininity. That's why you're having hormonal issues. That's why you're having problems like polycystic ovarian diseases and all. Because that competitiveness which is coming. Women are the nourishers. That nourishing quality we're beginning to lose over the years. So this is what Lenin spoke about, that do not repress the feminine because it leads to trauma. When we disconnect with the sensitive side, we are disconnecting from our soul. And that was, he said also very, very nicely when he said, that our society has become very over masculinized, because the first breath that we are taking is in a hospital where they're all gadgets, all instruments, you have the faucet, you have the knife, you have this, you have that. So everything is becoming so mechanical that the baby's first breath, the first cry of baby is, oh my God, where am I? Where am I? What am I going to do here? Instead of being, welcomed in a way where the mother is there, the baby is being kept on her, where she's breathing, where he's feeling her skin, where he's kept, nobody has the time for that. So it's become a very masculine way, because initially even the doctors were male. Now you have a lot of obstetricians who are females. The doctors used to be male. So it became very masculine, the birth. Then we have Leonard Leonard speaks about personalized and specific negatives. He says he personalized the most limiting thought, the negative belief we feel someone has about himself and the universe. And this is, about our separation, about our ego. It's how we misinterpret the ultimate reality that we are separate from the source. The birth-death cycle, the reincarnation is due to fundamentally to learn how to go back to God. Hira Khan Babaji used to say, without the physical body, there is no learning process. We might have strengthened or weakened our personal lives in our previous births. It crystallizes in our body each time we incarnate, especially at the moment of birth and during the birth scenario. For example, a baby might create with his own mother, father, and people who are present the experience of a very painful and difficult birth, and all the people involved in this birth might share the thoughts. Life is difficult, life is painful, life is a fight. We all grow up with this. यार जिंदगी में तो लड़ाई करनी पड़ती है, कोई चीज आराम से नहीं मिलती. So these are the beliefs our first breath teaches us about, because it's a struggle. There's an urgency. There is a scarcity. We are fighting for it. It doesn't come to us naturally. So this is what Leonard worked on when he spoke about rebirthing. Then something very beautiful he spoke about again was that how this personal life is like the trunk of the tree, where the branches, if the trunk of the tree is I'm not worthy of being loved, the branches will be I don't deserve to be happy. I will never achieve success. I am no good. So these branches are called specific negatives. And through observation, breathing, and transformation of our thoughts, we learn to unblock whatever is obstructing our contact with the fountain of life. And then he spoke about past lives. The different lives or reincarnation teaches us to remember our real nature until we master being in the physical universe while embodying the divine and becoming one with the eternal spirit. Now, this is something which is very, 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 very dear to me is water rebirthing. I experienced water rebirthing when I was with LV in US, the first rebirthing. And this is where I saw that why am I scared of water? So the scare of water came because when I was in my mother's womb, this is where I experienced that there was a twin, a vanishing twin, there was there. And this twin vanished. So this was a flash that came to me that this twin had vanished. And when this twin vanished, and I was left alone in the amniotic fluid. So being alone in the amniotic fluid, I just felt so lonely as if, a part of me was missing. So a lot of times, when I was growing up, I used to always feel, kuch missing hai, a part of me is not there. So this is what I experienced during water rebirthing. And when I went to Bangkok and I was doing water rebirthing with Chandra, I had the most amazing experiences. We did in the swimming pool, we did in the running stream. So a lot of memories come up, a lot of information about your own life, about the traumas of your own childhood, about birth memories, how you came out of your mother's birth canal. My mother was very young; she was only 19 when she gave birth to me. So I could see the stress, the pain, her unpreparedness, because I was born right after her marriage in 9 months. So she was very, very unprepared. So this was what I experienced during water rebirthing. So this is one of the most fascinating aspects of rebirthing. And when you do that, you wear a snorkel and you go into the water. So you go the other way around. Either you take up the fetus position and the rebirther, the holds you like I was holding a guy who was 6 feet 3. Peter, this was this guy from Romania. When he was doing his rebirthing, I was holding him. And I couldn't believe here is a person who doesn't know how to swim. That was me. And here I'm holding a guy whom I'm helping to rebirth. And he goes into a tetany. Where tetany means when your fingers became like that, his arms froze. And I was like, oh my God. And then you realize, okay, he's going through a moment of experience. So what are you doing? You are just helping him to rebirth his experiences. So this was the most beautiful uh, psychological and emotional drama I went through. The sessions are in water are very, very intense. So you need additional source of pran, and often it makes deep memories come to the surface. And we generally do, like I say, in warm water. We do it even in the tub. So I was lucky I could do two of the breathing sessions with a client of mine where I could rebirth the client in the bathing tub. So again, well, like I said in the beginning, the urgency to get out of the tub we hold. But that is a barrier. We don't let that barrier come. We say, okay, abhi ruko, wait. So that's a time when memories are surfacing and you're scared, what is going to come up. So when we hold the client just lets himself go. And beautiful memories, your tensions, all your traumas, all the dramas of life come up to the surface and you exhale it all out and you let it go. So cold water, like I said, was a beautiful way. We rebirth pregnant women's also. So this is a very good preparation for the labor. So you overcome a part of your own bathing trauma, the birth trauma. The future mother is more unlikely to reproduce it. And it's like a gentle birth that you're preparing. Ideally, what we do, we ask both the parents should start rebirthing before the conception. So many feel that rebirthing during pregnancy can make a mother relive her traumas that can affect the baby. However, rebirthing, please believe me, it's a very soft technique. It's benefiting both the mother and the baby. We rebirth children also. Well, I haven't rebirthed any child. I hope to go again and train how to rebirth a child. You rebirth when you have diseases like cold and cough, your flus, cancer, headaches, migraines, back pains, asthmas, epilepsy, AIDS, overweight. Our body is very wise. It's our temple. It communicates to us through symptoms whenever something is wrong in the way we think, we feel, we act, or with our lifestyles. So, as rebirthers, we help to breathe in energy which removes all these diseases. So, headaches and migraines, deprivation of oxygen at birth, most of the time, when you prematurely cut the umbilical cord, this is giving birth to headaches and migraines in your later period in life. Common colds and flus. This is also the effect of the birth trauma and depression. Depression is usually due to the emotional repression learned in early childhood. Children who are not allowed to express their own emotions learn to repress them. I'd like to share, I was very scared of my father in my childhood years. And there was a lot of stuff I wanted to say out, but I wouldn't because one look from his eye would tell us, that you're not to do it. So you learn to repress a lot of stuff. So I remember when I had met with a car accident in 1998. This is the time I had a full blown depression, full blown depression. And that's the time I wish, I had learned, what is rebirthing about. So repressive parents lead to children becoming depressed adults. Uh, Chronically depressed people usually lose their will for life because they really do not live the life they wanted to, because they are not free enough to go through it. They cannot express themselves. Lack of support and love in your childhood, as well as fear of loneliness, abandonment, are very painful for the children. So, in rebirthing, we heal your inner child, we heal the urge, we heal the self esteem. So, depression also comes due to, uh, we call this EEP. This is emotional energy pollution, which Leonard spoke about. And he said this is a very beautiful way that you can get rid of by doing fire purification. So you lie in front of the fire, you put your abdomen facing the fire, and for good 3 hours, 4 hours, you lie down. I'm lucky because I live in a house where we have a terrace. So my clients, I help them to do this fire cleansing by lying in front of the fire. So a lot of memories come up, a lot of emotions are released. So we call this emotional cleansing that we do. Asthma. People who have asthma have felt emotionally abandoned at birth and when they were babies or in the early childhood. It's usually related to bondage with mother, and the child feels she was separated too soon and cannot breathe all by herself or himself. It can also relate to birth trauma and the premature cutting of the umbilical cord or separation of mother at birth. So there's usually a great fear of not getting enough to which makes the exhalation very difficult as the person is unconsciously trying to retain the energy and has difficulty in letting go. So, this lack of love and bondage at an early age usually makes the baby develop a death urge or a suicidal urge. So, it's very important that asthma patients get themselves rebirthed. Asthma attacks are triggered by events that highlight loneliness of breathing independently and that creates a separation from mother, such as birth of a younger sibling. You're graduating from school, leaving home, getting married. All these could, be a trigger. Cancer. So the main causes of cancer, I feel, are bad diets, eating a lot of non-vegetarian stuff, repressed anger and resentment, bitterness. So most of the people with cancer have repressed feelings of bitterness and resentment coming from their childhood. So it's important to work with parental figures and get in contact with your feelings. Epilepsies, it could be caused by birth traumas or previous injuries of the head. Epileptic people usually are unable to express their fears and insecurities and are extremely self critical. Therefore, overcoming the inner tyrant and increasing their self love is important. So, we have AIDS. AIDS is also related to birth trauma, maybe parental and infancy trauma, parental disapproval syndrome, toilet training, and dirty diaper syndrome. Misuse of mind, body, a lot of negative thoughts, overactive sex life, unconscious death urge, karmas from past lives, lack of simple daily practice with all the elements like earth, air, fire, water, and of course, working with your mind. Lastly, we come to overweight, which is gaining weight, which is like building a barrier that protects you from other people's expectations. It can also be related to feelings of shame, humiliations coming from your childhood, difficulty with saying no, and the fear of intimacy and sex. People with weight problems learn as kids to be nice all the time. And there's a need to improve their self worth and feel that they deserve to receive love. Addictions to food, like any other addictions, is a way to repress emotions and childhood memories and trauma. So, we do, like I said earlier, we do spiritual purifications to remove the emotional energy pollutions. Please watch out for psychic dirt, pains, stresses, tensions, habits you keep picking up from people in public transports, in schools, in hospitals, in cremation grounds, in the airport, in the flights. So you keep picking up, we call this the emotional dirt. So it's very important that we keep doing the fire purification. And I'd like to conclude that Leonard Orr came to India and met Hera Khan Babaji and had a very powerful spiritual connection with him. And he asked Babaji, does rebirthing produce Mrityunjay, that is victory over death? Babaji said, rebirthing produces Mahamrityunjay, that is the supreme victory over death. And according to Leonard, humans are given 50 to 100 years by God and nature to heal themselves emotionally and to realize their natural ability and to liberate yourselves from birth traumas, which include womb and infancy consciousness, parent conditioning, misuse of thought, unconscious death urge, trauma from previous lives, educations, religious trauma. He said, we are such beautiful human beings. We need to be true to ourselves, evade spiritual and emotional corruption. And he also said, abundant life is balancing earth, water, fire, and mind, balancing creation and destruction, balancing accumulation and distribution, balancing intellect and experiencing, balancing purification and pollution, permanence and change, action and inaction, energy and stillness. And the person who masters balance masters mind, body, and spirit and gets to live forever in wisdom, love, and grace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alka. That was brilliant. Any questions, guys? Any questions for Alka?
Yeah, first and foremost, Alka, thank you so much for taking us through this beautiful talk on rebirthing. It was really a lot of value addition to understanding what it's all about and the 9 big traumas that you spoke about. So I just wanted to ask you, like I spoke about my dad being. I mean, what is your take on being a premature child? Why would a child want to come out of the womb prematurely? What's it need and how do
I'll tell you something. Yeah, so when you were talking about a premature baby, Dr. Nivedita, my mother also was a premature baby. And like when you said, na, she came on my dad used to be on the palm. My nanny spoke of the same thing, that my mother would be on the palm. And of course, why do premature babies come out, 7 months, 8 months, they are expecting some kind of a trauma, some kind of a rejection. This rejection could also be coming from a past life. It need not belong to this life. Some kind of a trauma where the baby has a death urge. So when you have a death urge, the baby will come out early. 8 months, 7 months, the baby comes out early because baby does not have the will to survive. So when like your mother, like your father was kept next to the sink, the basin, my mother was kept in a cotton and she said, "Dekho pata nahi bachti hai ki nahi bachti hai." So this is the thing the child is hearing, whether she's going to or he's going to survive or not. So this is tallying with the death, subconscious death urge the child is carrying. Because whenever you come out early of the womb, this is that the completion that has not taken place for the 9 months, the organs also have not developed fully at that time. So there is a subconscious death urge the child is carrying. Maybe he was not prepared for this particular womb also. Maybe sometimes a lot of souls are in a haste, they will quickly choose a life, and quickly choose a womb. When they choose a womb, and that's the time they realize this is not what my soul plan was, and that is the time they start living this death urge, and that is why they need to come out quickly. That is why the need for the subconscious death urge.
It's so interesting. We have two people here whose parents went through similar experience. Now, that cannot be a coincidence that both of you are on the same
Exactly.
forum.
Yes.
Yeah.
It did, this is what is fascinating me about this whole work that I'm doing right now, that people are coming together when they have something in common. Thank you so much for
So
that.
true, Anjali.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Yes, Alka, wonderful talk. Typically, how many sessions a person needs to do for this experience?
Uh, Bharat, we need at least 10 sessions, minimum 8 to 10 sessions for the traumas to come out, because the first session is, you learn like I said, about the 20 connected breaths. So there is a typical way that we breathe and we teach the client, So the first what happens, we need to release a whole lot of stuff. When you go through tetany, like I said, literally, your hands and your feet will freeze, or I had a mouth which got twisted and I could feel the current running in my entire face. This urgency to get up and to move does not happen. And that is the time when the traumas keep coming. So minimum we require 10 sessions for it, for all the
And they are
traumas to
spread
come out,
across what duration? They are spread across each week, each
No, no, we give generally 3 weeks, We generally give 3 weeks, At least for the first 6 sessions, we give 3 weeks because we don't want, because you have to integrate what has come out also. So it's not that you're just processing it, you have to integrate what has come out.
So it's almost like 9 months to an year process, right? The whole process.
Yes, yes. If you've lived your life for 50 years or 40 years or 30 years, you don't expect, uh, everything is going to, kind of, it's like an Indradhanush that has come out and there, it's going to. So Leonard took from 1962 to 75 to clear all the traumas that he had.
Wow.
So it's, but the cleaning is complete. It's complete, the cleaning. And I would